welcome to another episode of Bloom with Wunmi, where I'm having exciting conversation with leading women, leaders in the corporate world, and in business, and in the community. Today, I'm excited to have with me Jummy Adejuyigbe. Jummy is a seasoned executive in the cyber security industry in the US. You're
Wunmi, it's a
welcome,
pleasure to
Jimmy.
be with you this evening.
Yeah, thank you very much. Please, could you tell us about yourself?
Of course. So I grew up in an academic environment. My parents are professors in the university, and growing up surrounded in with a group of academics really created an opportunity to just have a love for learning and experimenting and just having an independence of thought and opinion. So just exposure to different women growing up in various fields just helped me at a very early age to not see any restrictions, right, to what I can do or what I can accomplish or what field, women or girls can be part of. So that really formed or created an interest in technology for me, just being exposed to computers at a very early age. And then I had the opportunity to eventually study management information systems, which then led into my career in information security. And just through that process got to learn a lot about what is required, right, in just building a cybersecurity career, learning from women in the field and other mentors that I had along the way. So over the years, just really got the opportunity to learn, grow, and keep learning, and just contributing just to securing organizations that I've been part of.
Well, thank you very much, Jimmy. Thank you very much. So, okay. So my question is this: you spoke about studying MIS for your school, but what was your first degree like, and what made you really want to go into cybersecurity? Yeah, what was it for you when you decided to go that route, and how has the journey been? Walking through after university, and just growing your career to the state you're in right now.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm going to tell you the story of how all that began. So the interesting thing is that I got introduced to computers in secondary school, right, in high school, and was part of a computer club back in my high school. And we learned programming, we learned, different aspects of computers when computers weren't really popular then. And coincidentally, my mom also got a computer at home. So I got to play around and practice on the computer we had at home, where a lot of folks didn't have computers back then. And not to date myself, but there were no computers back then in the 90s, common in every home. And then at that point, I decided that I wanted to, you know, study or major or have a career in anything that had to do with computers. And that was my dream, and I worked towards it. So when I wanted to go to college, I actually applied to study computer science as my first choice and computer science with economics as my second choice. So all the options I chose for my undergrad was really computers. However, I didn't make it for any of those, right? I mean, we went to the toughest college in Nigeria. So we're just even fortunate to get into college at all. So I got admission to study engineering physics. And honestly, prior to that, I didn't even know there was a course that existed called engineering physics. But then I, accepted the admission, got in with the intention to change my major a year after. However, that did not happen. So I ended up studying engineering physics for 4 years plus, for my undergrad. And the thing is, I would say it was quite a challenging program. And I was, really fortunate that I made it through in one piece. I would say that period was the most challenging time of my existence because of the rigor and just the rigor, the complexity of just going through college and passing through college. My first year of college, I failed my major physics, which meant that I had to spend an extra year to make up for that because I had prerequisites. I couldn't take the second year, and I had never failed in my life. So that was an interesting situation I found myself in. But thankfully, I made it through engineering physics. And then I decided I needed to still pursue my passion, which was computers. I explored options and found a course that had management information systems with a specialization in information security. And I felt that, wow, a world with lots of interconnectivity and just information and data out there, we do need to secure that data. And this was when security wasn't even a thing, it was just beginning to gain grounds. So I did come to the US for my master's and went through the program. The program was a breeze compared to the engineering physics I went through for my undergrad, and majored in information security. And one thing that I did during that program was to make sure that during the course of the program, I joined organizations, professional organizations that were relevant to information security, right? Just to begin to get my feet wet, to understand what folks in the industry were doing, to understand the different fields or different aspects of, the, should I say, IT world or security world, and begin to just figure out where my interests may lie and try to figure out how do I mimic my career after some of those folks that I've seen in the industry. So that was really the story of how I transitioned from engineering physics into cybersecurity.
Wow, that is interesting. Thank you for sharing that story. And I like how you mentioned the fact that we went to one of the toughest university in our country, Nigeria. So if you don't know, Jimmy happened to go to the same university with me, and let me finish the same year. So yeah, I really understand that. I wanted to talk about facing failure early in life. Then, it was as if that was our life has ended, or that was the main thing. But looking back here about 20 years ago, that is like a small part of your life, as a very tiny part of your life. So how were you able to overcome that failure? Because I know a lot of people hold on to the failure, and it sort of affects even the decisions they make afterwards. It affects your personal, the way you see yourself, right? Your personal image. So how were you able to really work on that failure? Was there anybody around, or how did you talk to yourself out of the failure to not start believing in yourself again? Because if you don't believe in yourself, you wouldn't even have gone on to decide the masters you're going to do and to go do well in that. And how did the rigor in you invested in the college really helped you to build your person and build your stamina throughout the years?
No, I think that's a fantastic question. And they're just different aspects to personally, how did I handle failure and how did that form me, into who I am today? Because I believe everything you go through in life adds to who you are or contributes to who you are, and how you respond to the outside external pressures also informs or forms who you are. They say when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. You have to have the right frame of mind, the right perspective to be able to look at things positively, look at the glass half full rather than half empty, right? And also, right, when they say, it's the same water that softens a carrot that hardens an egg. So you have a decision to make when you are faced with challenges, and you decide how do you want that challenge to frame your future or frame who you are. And all of that can happen with a number of external factors, right? What circle do you roll with? what support system do you have? And one thing I can say for sure is that the support system I had back in college played a very vital role in how I was able to manage that failure. The friends that I had, the relationships, the fellowships I was part of helped to frame my ability to be able to cope with that and come out of it stronger. And also, I'd like to say that my parents also, especially my mom, she played a significant part in how I was able to handle that failure, because I was so scared to go back to them and tell them that your daughter has failed the first year of college. My parents are lecturers, as I said, right? Both of them got a first class out of college from one of the best colleges in Nigeria. And how can I go back to them as their first child saying I failed? I was nervous. But then I went to my mom and told her, hey, this is my result. It's a mess. But then she looked at me and said, look, don't think because your parents are lecturers and we all got good grades that, that's the, how you measure yourself, right? And that would define how you rate your success. And she said, you can do anything you set your heart to do. So don't let anything pressure you to feeling less than you are, but just tackle it, face it, and give it your best. And I was like, ooh, wow, thank you. But then what that did to me was build that courage in me and give me the sense of comfort that I had support no matter what the outcome was. So I'd say that, the community around me made a difference. And honestly, quite frankly, my faith played a strong role in that as well. So a combination of people around, my family supporting me, and just my faith as well helped me to just be able to fail forward, right? And not hold on to the failure and let it drown me, but just look ahead and say, you know what? Yeah, failure happens. We learn from it, we grow from it, and we move forward.
Wow. Wow. Thank you very much. I really love that. I love um because we're all going to face failure one day or the other. And if we don't fail, you can't succeed. It's just impossible. If you've never failed, just shows that you've taken very little risk in life. Failure is always almost there. And talking about support system, it is huge. We all need to have support system around us. We need to have the right circle of people, the community we give ourselves in. And like how you say, your faith actually also played a strong point in that. And you moving forward and failing forward. A couple of days ago, I was part of this your Maxwell certification, and one of the things they spoke about was the returns on failure. And we don't look at it like there's a return. We look at returns on investment, not return on failure. But one thing they said was that when you fail and you're able to learn from it, that means actually you've had a return from that failure. And that's the big thing for us to see as women and leading women, that we're going to fail. But when you fail, what do you do with that failure? How do you move forward? Yeah, thank you very much, Jimmy. There's something you mentioned support system a lot. I want to ask, how has having a support system even helped you in your career, going up as a going through the ladder of career, and as a woman with kids? How has having support helped you really succeed in your career?
Yeah, that is, an important aspect of being able to thrive as one grows, in your career, right? As a female leader in the workplace. Over the course of my career, I've had just the blessing and the privilege of having amazing leaders support me. My managers, my bosses, they, for the most part, not all of them, for the most part, right, I've had really great individuals, that I report to support me, guide me, and give me the flexibility I need, to get my work done when, while raising a family. But I'd like to talk about support system from two perspectives, right? Support system from a career growth perspective, and a support system from a work-life balance perspective, right? So from a career growth perspective, I've had individuals that just were able to look at me, look at the work I've done, and be able to see the potential in me, even when I didn't see it, and then try to pull that out and give me opportunities that I didn't know I had the ability to, perform or execute. And also me being able to step out of my comfort zone to take on those opportunities. So those individuals have provided the guidance and support I've needed from a career perspective to just, push me out of my comfort zone and then guide me through it and say, you can do this. I know you can. Because, there are times when I hear those voices saying, you haven't done enough, you haven't, you're not measuring up. But then that support system comes up and say, wow, Jimmy, you did a great job here. And I'm just really impressed by how you handled this. And I know you can even do better because this is where I see you. They paint that picture, and then I begin to see, well, oh, if this person can see this in me, then that means, I'm capable of getting to that point. So I see that as a support system for the growth from a career perspective. Also, as a woman in the workplace with a family and young kids, right, I've also gotten that support where, my managers, my bosses have been able to create that flexibility where they say, you know what, I know you get your work done. Whenever you get it done, that's fine. If you need to leave early because you have to take the kids here or there, that's okay. So that also helps because in this part of the world, you don't have the grandmas, the aunties, and all the people that can, help out with the kids and the, house chores and all of that. So it is important when you have that flexibility with work where your people you work with are able to help create that environment where you're able to have that level of flexibility.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for talking about support system. And in your own context, we must have one. You could see you talk about support system even when you were in university, and then now as a manager, as an executive actually, and even going through your career ladder, we always need to have a support system for our person or ourselves, even for our emotional growth. We need that to have support system. And something you mentioned about sometimes you hear the story telling you, this is, if you can't do this, you don't have enough qualification. And I've heard that over again because there's this story that we tell ourselves unconsciously, and if you're not careful, that story will just make you feel less than you are. And that's something that I heard and I know that happens. You being able to borrow somebody else believing you. So, and it's good to always have those people that believe in you, that see what you can't see. So if you're growing your career, we need to be conscious of having those people, building those relationships. And not only, even in life, actually, generally in life, you want to have people that see you more than you see yourself. And also doing that to other people, being that person that sees in other people what they can't see and telling them, I see you can do this. Why don't you go for that? Sometimes we just need a little push, just a gentle push to go ahead and take the next step for us to get to our goals or our vision. I'm going to ask about mentors. I know you've mentioned the support system a lot, but I want to talk about mentors and also talk about how you're mentoring other people. How can a leading woman go out of her way to look at other younger ladies, maybe younger in age or young, just the fact that you're in higher position. How can we be intentional in mentoring and advising and coaching, sponsoring the younger people around us, and how has that worked for you in your own career development?
Yeah, thank you, Wunmi. So when I think about mentorship, I think it's critical, right, that we have mentors and also mentor other individuals, especially the younger generation coming up or younger women coming up. And there are, formal mentoring relationships and informal ones. And for me, what has worked for me surprisingly has been informal mentoring relationships. Over the course of my career, I've had individuals that I looked up to, admired in terms of how they led and just their level of expertise. And over time, I was able to build that relationship with them where I sought their advice and they were able to pour into me, their knowledge, their wisdom and guidance as well. And that happened very organically, right? And I think that makes for a very strong mentor-mentee relationship, even if it's not officially called that, but you just realize that you're touching base with them from time to time, seeking them out intentionally, reaching out and trying to gain guidance, gain knowledge from them. And I think it benefits both parties, right? Both the mentors and the mentees, even when they do not have it defined that way officially. But then you have the informal, sorry, you have the formal mentoring approach where you actually, seek someone out and officially ask them to become your mentor. Sometimes that works out if both parties are willing to put in the time, because at the end of the day, the mentee has to intentionally outline what they're trying to get out of that relationship and work it out with the mentor, right? Because at the end of the day, the mentor is not going to necessarily drive that relationship, because I've seen scenarios where I've tried to reach out to folks and just guide them through certain things, and in some cases they get so excited, and over time the excitement wins. So I think it's just, how do we find a way to keep that engagement going, and also understand that mentorship could be short term, it could be long term, and just be flexible as you're interacting with folks to know, okay, what do you need at this time? I can mentor you on a specific area for a short period of time, or if it's a longer term mentorship relationship, I think the more informal mentorship really able to be sustained much more longer, because it's not forced, right? It just happens, and you're almost like friends, and but still have that relationship, that mutual respect for each other. So that's my take, right, when it comes to mentoring. And what I've done over time is really have the opportunity to engage with organizations that have sessions with high school kids or college kids, where there's just maybe a couple of weeks, mentoring sessions where you just talk to them about what you do, and also try to paint a picture of what they can do, what they can accomplish, right? So those are just a one-time thing, right? Not a sustained mentorship relationship. But really, in summary, right, mentorship is key, because I think it helps to take you to that next level and give you visibility and insight into things you may not really have clarity on. And those mentors really help to just, shine some light and provide their wisdom to whatever, you're trying to sort through.
Well, thank you very much, Jimmy. That's interesting. Um, my next question is this: you are in a male-dominated industry, right? And you've been able to really grow your career to become a seasoned executive, an exceptional leader in the cyber security industry. So my question is this: you are in a male-dominated industry. Two, you're a minority. You're a woman of color. You didn't even grew up in the US. So how were you able to really go through those barriers, right, and still grow your career and grow your leadership to the point where you're in right now? Okay.
Wow. I would say that it really starts from watching other women succeed, watching role models like my mom succeed in a STEM field, watching women in cybersecurity that I've, seen as mentors or role models over time succeed. So that gives me a reason to know that, yes, I can do it as well if they can. Also, I think one thing I would say that also helped and also contributed to my growth within my career is the willingness to learn, the willingness to do things afraid, take opportunities even though I may be scared, but really step out of my comfort zone and embrace those opportunities, knowing that, you know what, I will figure it out, I will get help, and I will ask the right questions. I don't have to know everything. but stepping out of my comfort zone to just take that leap of faith that, yes, I can do it, you know. So I think those are some of the things that, have helped me over time to um, grow within my career, and also leveraging just, like you mentioned earlier, the mentors in that journey to support me through, and I can run challenges by them, and they can share how they were able to handle those situations, and informs how I'm able to continue to lead my team or solve certain problems, right? Because I know that I don't have to have all the answers, but I
Mhm.
have to, as a leader, be able to ask the right questions to solve those problems. And in a male-dominated field, one other thing, and as a woman of color, one thing personally is that I do is that I don't focus on the fact that I'm a woman or that I'm in a male-dominated field. I come to work ready to get the work done, and I make sure that I do my work with excellence and competence, right? Regardless, and try to stand up for myself, because yeah, in a male-dominated field, you see people trying to talk over you or just trying to um, dismiss your voice, so to speak, but being able to stand up and, own my space and communicate and just really do great work so that no one can contest my competence to speak, because I'm continuously learning and continuously growing, and also looking for opportunities to actively create solutions, right? And not waiting to be asked to solve a problem, but looking for those problems, solving them, being proactive, right? And just going above and beyond, just to deliver and just show value, create value, and add value to whatever organization I've been part of. So I think that all of that just has been helpful to just get me to continually progress, because I see myself as an asset to the company, because I know that because I'm there, I'm going to make a difference. I'm here to add value. I'm here to make my team better. I'm here to add value to my team and make them grow. So it's not about me alone. It's about the team, about the purpose, about the vision, and just making that all of that come alive. And that shows through it, because there's just that authenticity in just how you engage with the organization.
Well, thank you very much. I like say sometimes you do things afraid, take hold of the opportunity and just go for it. And looking for opportunity to serve, not waiting to be told or to be asked, just going forward first. And what the other things you really spoke about that was really intriguing, and just giving your best, keep learning, and that has really helped you. Very much. Thank you for sharing. My last question now, right? But actually working in a male-dominated industry, being a woman of color, being there. So how have you been able to really be assertive, ask for what you want, and not being aggressive?
That's a very interesting question. And, I would like to say that being a woman of color, being a woman alone in a male-dominated industry, I've had many scenarios where, people try to talk over you in meetings or try to interrupt you and disregard what you said, or people try to own your ideas and repeat them after you've said them. And, it now becomes like, oh, wow, the best idea when you just said it a few minutes ago, and they just repackaged it. So I try to intentionally make sure that I am firm when I have to speak up for myself. You do not interrupt me when I'm speaking. I would let you know quite respectfully and continue what I'm saying. And also, I think it's important to state that when we see that happen to other people, we stand up for them. And, in meetings, what I do is like, oh, Lily was trying to say something. Do you mind if she finishes her train of thoughts before you continue? Thank you. So those are some of the things I've had to do. Or when I share an idea and Nobody says anything about it. Then another guy repackages the idea and says it, and everyone goes like, wow, that is fantastic. I go like, wow, yes, Greg, that's really a great idea. However, that's exactly what I had mentioned a few minutes ago when I said this. And everybody goes like, oh yeah, that's true. But you have to stand up for yourself or stand up for other people and call it out. Because at the end of the day, you know, when we talk about women supporting women, this happens all the time in the workplace. And it's quite frustrating, but you know, and being frustrated is not a solution. You just have to step up and know that and speak up, because when you speak up consistently, the behavior begins to wane and people begin to take note and know that, you know what, I should not, you know, yeah, she's going to call me out. So I think I'll behave myself. And honestly, especially for a Black woman, right? You know, the Black woman is tagged as the crazy Black woman when she's upset. She's, you know, but when a man is upset, he's just being, you know, confident and assertive. So it's just striking that balance with just knowing when to stand up for yourself and do it in a very firm, not aggressive, and don't just let your emotions overtake you. Just breathe and take a pause, but then speak firmly and address the issue, because not addressing it doesn't help. The behavior will continue. So yeah, that's you know, my perspective and just the experiences I've had in that regard.
Thank you very much. Actually, knowing you, knowing the quiet Jimmy, the soft-spoken Jimmy, yeah, it's so good. It's so exciting to see how you're able to actually stand up for yourself without being aggressive. Without being aggressive, being able to be assertive, without being aggressive, and speaking up for yourself and for others. Thank you, Jimmy, for sharing. You actually have been. To the question. Let me see how I'm going to wrap these questions together. Okay, you mentioned of being authentic. So how have being authentic helped you to lead your team and lead those people you are, and helped you to grow your leadership? How has it worked for you?
So the thing is, for me, I think it takes a lot of effort to pretend to be something you're not. It's just too much pressure. So I engage with my team in a way that shows that every interaction I'm having with them, I genuinely want to see them succeed. Not because it will make me look good, but because I know that it will make them grow professionally. And one thing I've seen over the course of my career in leading teams is that when you come to work with your full authentic self, and as a leader, engage with your team with that level of authenticity, transparency, you begin to gain trust for your team. Because I'm not coming to the team telling them that, you know, I've got it all together, I don't have any fears, or I don't make any mistakes. But then I'm able to share my mistakes, share lessons learned, share my challenges, my frustrations, you know, share a bit of my life with them, right? Because that shows that at least I'm human like them. And that builds a relationship, that builds trust, and also creates an environment where, you know, we spend over almost 80% of our time at work. So if we're doing that, we may as well create an environment where folks feel comfortable to thrive. So I try to make sure that when I'm engaging with my team, I communicate clearly with them and I'm transparent with them. And, you know, that shows through. And what builds back is trust and some level of loyalty to the team and to the vision we've set and strategy we set for the organization or for the group. And you see that it translates into creating just a high performing team, because folks are just so comfortable to come to work with all of themselves and giving their best.
Thank you very much. This question is going to stem from the same answer, just like how you're going. So how can an aspiring female leader develop these attributes, right? Because you've actually been mentioned as a dynamic leader, a vital collaborator. So how can someone else, a really younger person, really grow these attributes to make themselves better and become a dynamic leader just as you are?
Yeah. So when I think about, how younger folks or folks aspiring to leadership positions can become a dynamic leader, I think I'll take your question in two parts: a dynamic leader and a vital contributor. So just starting with, how do I become a dynamic leader? What are the considerations to put in, to factor in order to become a dynamic leader? I would say that first of all, you have to learn the organization, learn your team, learn the individuals that are on your team. Because what that does is that you begin to determine the right approach to lead those individuals. You understand how they want to be led, how they want to be how they want to be managed. One cap doesn't fit all when it comes to leadership, right? Because there are different leadership styles. And in my opinion, I would say if you want to be a dynamic leader, you probably have to use all the leadership styles available depending on the situation, depending on the individual. So to be a dynamic leader, you really have to factor all of that in and have an active listening skill and look to make adjustments as you go along and be flexible, adaptable as you're leading groups, as you're leading individuals, and adapt your leadership style to suit the situation. In terms of being a vital contributor, I'll say that you definitely need to have to continuously learn. When you learn, you'll be able to add value. If you stop learning, you stop growing, and then you don't have much to contribute. So you need to know what's going on in your industry, the trends, whatever that is. Just keep learning, keep growing. The other aspect is, I mentioned previously, is active listening. Because if you want to be a vital contributor, solving problems, you need to listen to understand the verbally communicated words and the nonverbal cues as well, to observe and learn and see, okay, I've gotten all the pieces of what is going on, and that will help you to be able to contribute in a meaningful way to whatever situation or problem you need to solve. And I think finally is asking the right questions, right? Because when you ask the right questions, you learn more, and then you're able to respond in a way that creates value, and you're able to contribute to whatever is being said. One thing I like to say is that, most people feel like in meetings, they have to always speak, always say something. I'm not against that, but sometimes you just need to sit back and listen. And then when you listen, you're able to pull all that together and contribute in very impactful and meaningful ways. So that would be my recommendation.
Well, thank you very much. Listening, you spoke about listening a lot and not just always talking. Listen, I like the last point because many times women talk about not being able to speak up in meetings, and that could go to the extreme where, okay, I must always say something. And if you're saying so much without making sense, it's actually worse than just keeping quiet. So listening and then coming up with saying something that will be very impactful, that will make them remember and just know that, oh yes, you said this, and listen to you. Let them start listening to you. And you talk about continuous growth a lot. So yeah, every leader, everyone that want to be impactful, that want to lead, that want to make a difference, we need to continue learning because like things are changing and we don't know everything. There's a lot, always have a blind spot that when we discover we need to work on. Yeah, so thank you very much. So what parting word would you want to say to our audience that are listening? We have a lot of women leaders or aspiring leaders, even men that listen to us today. So what is closing remark you like to give to our audience?
One thing, a few things come to mind. One thing that I learned at an early age is, a quote that states, where determination reigns, failure cannot dismantle the flag of success. And as we've talked about earlier, failure is part of learning, it's part of growth. So embrace failure and learn from it and grow from it. Don't let it stop you. It's just an opportunity to learn how not to do it or how you can do it better next time. And in all honesty, you can accomplish whatever you set your heart to do. And nobody can put you in a box except you allow them to. So my, parting words or summary, I'll say that honestly, for women leaders, for aspiring women leaders, the sky is the limit. Learn, grow, and add value. That's really what I would say. The sky is the limit. There's no limitation, unless the limitation you place on yourself.
Thank you very much, Jimmy, for this passing word and for this time having this conversation with me. I've really learned so much just listening to you. I know that our viewers have learned so much. I hope you were taking notes to go back to. Yeah, thank you for joining us today. And yes, look forward to the next episode of Bloom with Wunmi, where I'm having exciting conversation with leading women. Take care and God bless you. Bye.